The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-host and do not reflect the official policy or position of the Firearms Radio Network and or their employers. Viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on our live shows.
Broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of This Week in Guns is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to This Week in Guns. This show is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network and Patriot Patch Company.
And this show offers commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm your host, Sean Heron, and every week I say it's my privilege to introduce our guests. We've got one that I thought would never leave and one that I thought would never come back. The one that I thought would never leave is my good friend. He's the host of the Second is for Everyone Diversity Shoot and podcast, Second Amendment advocate, co-host of the Gun and Gear podcast, firearms trainer at Simon Says Train. His name is Tony Simon. How are you, buddy?
As the largest pound-for-pound firearms instructor in America, I feel great.
I love it, my friend. Glad to have you back. And the one I thought would never come back, she's the senior spokesmom blogger for 1 Million Moms Against Gun Control and co-host on the To the Republic podcast with Tim Knight, Rebecca Schmoy. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. Do you remember how to say the name?
I do. Right before the show started, I said it incorrectly, and the look on your face was perfect. I was like, if looks could kill, I would literally have just died.
That's a thing.
It was pretty amazing. Welcome back. Glad to have you. You feeling better this time?
I am. The rest of the family has the plague now, so
Patient zero. I love it.
Yes.
First off, guys, go check out the Patriot Patch Company at patriotpatch.co. They're, I don't know, Patch of the Month Club, one of my favorite things ever. Tony, do you get Patch of the Month Club?
Yes, I do, and I love it, and I give it to my patrons.
It's so good. Rebecca, have you ever seen any of these?
I did. I looked at them. I have not gotten into it yet, but I did go through. I did the stalking thing.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, it's a good thing. I just got a bunch of Christmas patches, some of my favorites. I put a video up of just kind of hanging them on my patch wall. I don't know why I do that. It's probably the most boring thing in the universe, but I just like it. It's fun. Anyway, patriotpatch.co is where you can go for that. Let's get right into it. This first one, don't want to spend a whole ton of time. I just have a really serious question about it. The FCC is looking to roll out 988 as a suicide prevention number. And for those who don't know, the suicide prevention line is 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-TALKER. You can text 741-741, and they're looking to do a 3-digit number, which if it rolls out, it will be 988. I'm just curious why they just didn't do 741. Was it already taken? That would have made a lot of sense, but
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was already taken or not. It's a great idea. I mean, that's a long number to try to remember.
Yeah. 988, much more simple, much better. Anyway, I just use that as an excuse to give out the suicide hotline number. I know it is almost Christmas. I know some people get super sad around this time, and I just want everyone to know you can text that number 741-741, and we prefer that you're here. So if you need it, use it. Going into some stories here, we've got a couple things going on. FedEx driver kills robber who shot him. Guy goes up to, and I have these stories for a specific reason, but guy goes up, robs the...
Yeah, police tell us that FedEx driver was shot.
Autoplay video, my favorite. Goes up, robs him, takes a couple packages, and then after he takes the packages, decides to shoot the FedEx driver. FedEx driver, who has a concealed firearm, returns fire, and the robber is found a few blocks away, taken to the hospital where he later died. The FedEx driver is okay. There was a line in this that I thought was kind of interesting. Here we go. I don't know if the FedEx driver has a valid permit to carry, but that's definitely going to be part of the investigation. One of the local police chief inspector, Scott Small, says. And I thought that was very interesting. Rebecca Schmoy, I'm going to start with you. Interesting line in what appears to be a clear-cut case of self-defense, and even as the article frames it, it appears to be.
Yeah, somehow we're going to try to pin it on you that it is bad that you have protected yourself. That's basically what that says. You have the Second Amendment, but please don't use it.
It's so weird. And this is in Philadelphia. Tony, what do you think?
Welcome to Philly. Your Pennsylvania carry permit worked everywhere but Philly. And yeah, so the police have failed to stop you from getting robbed. They fail to stop you from getting shot and your life almost taken. So when you decide to, save your own life, well, now they want to penalize you for it. Yeah, that's a fail on their part.
Yeah. I just thought it was crazy. I'm like, he already took the packages and then decided to shoot afterwards. Something seems a little weird. So I guess we'll find out more if they ever update that story. Pizza delivery driver shoots 2 robbers in Dallas, killing one. So clearly coming to us from Texas. Driver was armed, shot both robbery suspects, which, good. One person is dead. One was taken to the hospital. They had tried to rob him at 10:30 p.m. And it's a large development. He was armed, and the suspects are 15 and 17 years old, which, man, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. But both these cases, these people who were robbed, shot, put their lives put in jeopardy, had firearms, and they used them to defend themselves. Tony, what do you think about the pizza driver?
Well, the pizza driver, again, protected his life against a violent threat, but also these guys were young. One was 15, one was 17. They didn't know you're supposed to avoid the Noaid.
So true. Rebecca, what are your thoughts? I mean, pizza's good and all, but is it worth armed robbery?
Well, obviously not. These guys are roughly around the same age as a couple of my boys. And so as a mom, I can't even imagine what parents are going through. But at the same time, don't start nothing, won't be nothing. So,
yeah,
it's unfortunate that they made choices that led them to this outcome.
Yeah. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. One of my favorite sayings. And I kind of agree with it. I mean, yeah, 15 and 17. I'm sorry that your life went there, but you're trying to rob people, and that's what happens. Next story, all part of the trifecta here. Attempted robbers are scared off by gun-toting wife of their intended victim. Man is standing out or working outside of his house, sees an SUV come by. SUV slows down as they go by, and this is in Texas, Houston, by the way. Does a U-turn, comes back up. 2 armed men come up and start demanding money from the man. They take him inside his home, which that's huge. I mean, that's bad. Wife hears the commotion, hears the ruckus, goes in, gets a gun, comes out, points it at the guys, and they flee and run away. Woman was not injured, and I think this is just another good thing. Rebecca Schmoy?
I think it's fantastic. We need more women trained and ready to protect their home, whether they're protecting their husbands, themselves, their kids, whatever. That's kudos to her. Well done.
Yeah, totally agree. Tony?
Yep, I grew up in a family of women that had learned how to take care of themselves with long arms, pretty much for the most part. And well, my great aunt was somebody you did not want to mess with. I'm sure there's a brush salesman from the 70s that probably told a story about a crazy lady that shot his window out from about 200 yards away because he wouldn't leave her sister-in-law alone. Yeah,
that's amazing.
The story goes in the family, my Aunt Reen didn't even get out of her rocking chair on the front porch. She just reached behind, grabbed a 30-30, and blew his window out of his car from like 200 to 300 yards away. They said you could see the rooster tail of dust about a mile away that he left as he got the heck out of Dodge. So, yeah.
A simpler time.
Yep.
But I mean, all these different stories that we're constantly talking about on the show and hearing, it's what happens, especially that first story where they're like, we're going to make sure he had a valid concealed carry permit. I'm like, he got shot. Like, and I talk about this all the time. We have to make this choice, right? Like sometimes you carry in a place that you may not be supposed to carry. Like I will tell you this, that anytime I've seen a movie at the movie theater, I don't really care about their signs because I'm carrying. Just plain and simple, absolutely without question, I am carrying there. If I'm asked to leave, I will absolutely leave without an argument. But I'm going to carry there because if I had to use my gun, I would be glad to be alive instead of actually, dead and within the purview of the law or within the scope of the law. Rebecca, go ahead, Tony.
I'm sorry, but living here in New Jersey, I had to make that choice. Especially when I first started here, my regular job is a locksmith, if people don't know. So I get called, I mean, no offense to anybody, I get called by stupid people at stupid times to go to stupid places and open their cars or homes. So I don't have a choice as part of my profession than to be in Trenton, Irvington, Newark, Camden, whenever my job takes me. Usually it's for large retail stores because we also work for malls. So if they let someone go, a manager go, I'd have to go there and change the locks on the place. Now I have a choice: 4 years in jail guaranteed because I'm carrying illegally, or be able to save my own life. It's kind of messed up.
Yeah, I agree. Rebecca, anything to add there?
In Kansas here, it's constitutional carry. And so it literally just means that your sign means that you can't disarm me. You can ask me to leave. If I choose not to leave, I can be charged with trespassing. I'll take that trespassing or the little conversation before the trespassing every time, every single time.
Yeah, completely agree. I bring that up just because Second Call Defense is one of the sponsors of the show, and they kind of help out after the trigger's pulled, after the smoke is cleared. Find out more. It's super inexpensive, $10 a month for one of their plans, and they go all the way up to 40 for family coverage and all that good stuff. Firearmsradio.tv/SCD for those times when you use your firearm, you got shot, you defend your life, and the police chief says, well, it'll be part of the investigation as to whether he had a valid permit or not. They're going to help you with stuff like that. So go check them out. And this next story, it's actually kind of awful, but I thought it was kind of important and a very interesting cultural difference between us. Baghdad mob kills teen gunman and strings up his corpse. So there's a lot of crazy things going on in Iraq right now. And there's been a lot of protests and things like that outside Baghdad or inside Baghdad. Well, apparently this teenage gunman shot quite a few people. He killed 2 shop owners and 4 protesters. Looked like he was wanted by police on drug-related charges and was running from security forces at the time. Well, an enraged mob beat the young man to death, and then they hung him from a light pole and hung him from his feet by a light pole as an example. And I don't know specifically if he was justified in his use of a firearm, but I'm going at it like he killed 6 people, so probably not too justified. And they literally strung him up and made an example out of him for the other cowards who might wish to perpetrate violence on the community. And far be it am I to talk about vigilante justice or to murder someone for doing something like that. But if we did this in the United States, it might be a little bit different of an outcome for some of the mass killers we've had. Rebecca Schmoy?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've coddled people for too long. We've played into the everybody feel your feelings wherever they may lead you. And everybody gets a free pass, a little slap on the wrist kind of thing. And it's just perpetuated the problem. It's gotten worse. It's grown. I can't say that I would personally want to see this kind of thing happen. And it's horrifying to think about the fact that kids, young people are witnessing this kind of thing in their daily lives. But people can be evil, and evil cannot be tolerated. So,
Tony?
I think the cultural difference really shows through because we have this victimhood mentality in this country where someone else is supposed to come and save us. Well, these people knew exactly what was up. You're going to have to save yourself. And that's exactly what they did. And it cost this young man his life, but also it's an example to others. If you come here to do us harm, we will swing you from a tree by your ankle too.
Yeah, I don't condone it, but I don't condemn it either.
As Dave Chappelle said, as Chris Rock says, I don't say it's right, but I understand.
Yes. Federal judge blocks Los Angeles NRA ties disclosure regulation. So what happened is LA, always trying to figure out great ways to take care of their citizens and, responsible ways to spend their money. They basically put into place this thing where all contractors that worked with LA County or LA City or whatever, they had to disclose their ties or donations or anything approval of the NRA. And the NRA was like, wait, what? And So they took him to court, which clearly they kind of would have to, right? A federal judge has now issued a preliminary injunction on the city to do that. And yeah, I'm actually very glad. It says here that the judge found only a slight relationship between the law and Los Angeles interests in public safety and transparent government, said an injunction would better serve the public interest. It is not within the public interest to subject potential city contractors to a disclosure requirement motivated by political animus and completely unrelated to their ability to perform the job. And kudos to the judge, saw through the nonsense. Tony, this is crazy to me.
It's insane. It's a direct attack on the NRA, and depending on like your political stance. I mean, what contractor in his right mind in Los Angeles would say, yes, I'm a life member of NRA? That would be anything. But the most disturbing thing about this entire story is the stock photo is of an on a defense pistol. Like, who takes pictures of it? I mean, I just haven't seen one since they came out. But yeah, man, it's really disturbing because you're bringing only that one part of politics into your contract. It's like you didn't ask about any other hot button issue out there. Yeah. That's directed directly at the NRA.
Yeah. Rebecca Schmoy?
Yeah, it's a witch hunt. They want to know who their enemy is, and they want to run them out of business. For one, it's unconstitutional. We should be left alone to invest in whatever it is that we're going to invest in. But more than that, it's a civil violation. It's my business. It's not yours. If I want to make it your business, fine. But if I don't, the fact that I'm required to tell you who I'm supporting, whether it's political or an organization or whatever, that's just wrong. It's an infringement on my basically privacy.
Yeah, it's definitely ridiculous. I agree. Gun Owners of America uncovers form used for people to red flag themselves in the NICS system. This comes to us from Ammo Land, and yeah, this is interesting. So they found this FBI document. It's entitled "The NICS Indices Self-Submission Form." Allows Americans to voluntarily waive their Second Amendment right to bear arms. Once the person submits this form, they cannot get the rights back. And I quote from the form: "The waiver of rights states, I may not be permitted to withdraw my name and information in the future." The FBI and ATF are using these forms to target gun owners that are seeking help for mental health problems but do not fall under the guidelines of a prohibited person under federal law. Anti-gun doctors or anti-gun family members can push this document on a gun owner in their time of crisis, taking advantage of them in a weakened mental state. And I can definitely understand that there will be people out there, and not me, but I understand that there's people who are probably middle of the road who are like, well, that's smart. If someone doesn't think they should have guns, then why should they? And, if someone makes that choice and they're of sound mind to do so, then they can do whatever they want. Like I literally don't care what other people do as long as it doesn't affect me. But I can absolutely imagine doctors, teachers, parents, administrators in places, government agents and things like that. Like I can see them using this and being like, hey man, you don't want to hurt anybody, do you? You might hurt somebody. You don't want that, right? Like just sign this paper. It'll be fine. And people in a weak state of mind, or people that are just in people that are in what's the word? Vulnerable. Thank you. A vulnerable state of mind could be convinced to sign this. Tony, what do you think?
I think it's horrible because it opens it up to abuse. Sorry, Hold My Guns. Sarah's organization set up just for a situation like this. You don't have to get the government involved. Government involvement, especially banning yourself for life from a civil right with no reversal.
Yeah, what?
Voluntarily. No, just no.
And it's just like, what if this was the First Amendment? Like people would be losing their minds. Rebecca?
Yeah, the idea that this will not be used to basically con people into giving up their rights, people who don't understand that it can't be undone, it's astounding. We already see the direction that our school institutions, our public school system is going. And honestly, they're having kids in high school write papers about why the second should be repealed. I mean, I know it's happening in my hometown high schools and things like that. And so why wouldn't they just add this in and be like, oh, everybody, just like the DARE program, sign this saying that you will never participate. And once they sign it, these are impressionable youth, and they don't understand the real world yet, and they haven't probably been put in a situation to where they have even had to think about, well, in 10 years this might happen, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to protect myself. Well, if they sign this their senior year in high school, then they won't even have the chance. It's just setting us up to make more criminals out of people who shouldn't be criminals.
Yeah.
And to make victims out of people that shouldn't be victims. Just imagine this virtue signaling when you're in college and you're trying to impress a girl, and this becomes a thing to fill out. Hey, you don't want guns, do you? Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, hey, you make decisions in your early 20s to hook up. Now, all of a sudden, you're a father of, let's say you're 35, 40 years old, and you have children of your own, and you want to have a way to protect them. Oh, when you were 20 and chasing some girl, you signed away your civil rights to be able to own a firearm. Now you have two choices: be unarmed or do something illegal to get a firearm.
Yeah, ridiculous. So I think, I don't know, I have no room for that in my life, personally. Philadelphia Be a Parent program turns up 6 guns. I just Googled, what is the population of Philadelphia? It is 1.581 million. So they said, we're not offering any gift certificates. We're appealing to people's conscience, says Bilal Quayum, who runs Father's Day Rally Committee, the group that organized a grassroots effort involving police, city council, and a host of community advocates to launch a home gun check campaign. The campaign asked city residents to search their homes for guns and turn them in at 2 drop-off locations over 2 weekends, no questions asked. The first one took place Saturday. They had 6 guns turned in, 2 fully loaded, and they're especially proud of those, but they called it a success. Rebecca, what did they think? There's 10 guns in Philadelphia?
I honestly, the fact that they got 6 is just astounding to me. I can only imagine the thought process behind that. I cannot believe that somebody just went, oh, I'm shocked. There's a gun in my home. Let me go get it and bring it to you. That's not what happened. Probably someone didn't like guns in the home, and they went and took guns from someone else that did have guns. And now we're dealing with, theft. But
of a firearm.
Yes, exactly. So it's just 6 guns, really. I mean, that's not even a drop in the bucket. I mean, for some of us.
Yeah.
So I don't.
I have more than that in this room right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
One, it's really good to see that Chief Wiggums from The Simpsons is actually in this photo. Wow. Man, please go to the show notes and click on this link.
Oh,
wow.
Like, is that the penguin?
Wow. The other thing is, this shows you how few guns are turned in at gun turn-in programs, that 6 in the city of Philadelphia is seen as a success. 6.
Yeah, 6. I will also say that if someone had their gun turned in by a family member or something, like, that is literally a federal crime. That's, I would say you should pursue measures.
Oh, that's going to make some real interesting holiday conversation around the Christmas dinner.
Yeah. I agree. Well, congratulations, Bilal. You're a huge success, and I'm sure your parents are proud. Civil disobedience movement migrates to New Jersey. So we actually did have that shooting at a kosher deli, and Yehuda Reamer, the Pew Pew Jew, actually did send me an article that he wrote, and it was definitely a hate crime by all accounts, and just kind of ridiculous and perpetrated on the people that were inside this kosher deli and police. I'm waiting for the article to load, but I did read it earlier. And I mean, Tony, this is your backyard. People are saying we're not going to comply. It's a good thing, but you live in New Jersey. Tell us, is this a thing?
All right, I'll go ahead and put it out there. They're trying to make it a thing. All right. Everything is being tried to make a thing. The Jersey City shooting was not a mass shooting. It was not directed at anyone to start with. It was an investigation of a murder that happened in Bayonne over the weekend. A cop approached these two suspects. They opened fire on the cop, killed the cop, drove to Jersey City, and shot up this deli. If you read the initial news stories and every news story since, they continually tell you how close they were to a synagogue or yeshiva or just more Jewish victims. No, they stopped in the deli and shot up 3 people. I have no idea why. It's really weird because no one blocked the street. Their van didn't break down. They intentionally stopped there and got out. You watch the video. Was it anti-Semitic? Well, they intentionally stopped there, and the majority of the people they killed were Jewish. 2 out of 3 of the people they killed in the room. I don't know, but they keep trying to push this. And as far as the will not comply issue, New Jersey is not Virginia. I hope it catches on. I really do. I hope these people grow a backbone and use a state like Virginia as an example and get this done. I mean, Scott Bach is a friend of mine, and I'm a member of the Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs. So, yes, I'm 100% behind this, and I'll promote it in any way possible.
What was the name of that organization one more time if people want to get in touch?
The Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs, ANJRPC. They out of Cherry Ridge, New Jersey. They have a range up there, but it doesn't cost much to join and help them fund this fight. And also CNJFO, also a group of my friends that are going to be involved in this fight. So yes, you can donate, you can help, you can go online.
So Rebecca, I want to hear your opinion on Jersey as well, but I also want to ask you a pointed question. Do you think that the kind of the civil discourse going on in Virginia right now is kind of inspiring maybe some other states that have had their rights infringed upon?
I certainly hope so. We need to take the momentum from from Virginia and not just move it into New Jersey, but really nationwide. And it can't stop with attending a city council meeting. It has to follow through. We have to get all of our people, everybody. I don't even care what your issue is. I don't care how you vote. You need to invest in getting to the polls. That's where we solidify our republic. It's one thing to be on your soapbox, but you need to make it to the ballot box. And the momentum that we're seeing out of Virginia needs to continue across the nation. As far as the hate crime in New Jersey, I don't particularly like the term hate crime. Crime in itself is a form of hate. I mean, it's a symptom of hate. And so all of them are hate crimes. If they were targeted because of their chosen religion, that's a horrible thing. But we also need to treat that like we treat every other murder. It's the fault of the person who pulled the trigger. It's the criminal who committed the crime. And the why doesn't matter as much as the fact that we need to enforce the laws we already have on the books. And so if we would do that, we would see fewer and fewer of these things pop up.
Yeah. Next story, sanctuary status extends to approximately 40% of Virginia population. We're up to 101 counties now that have done sanctuary city style amendments or adoptions. Virginia governor considers grandfather clause to make his gun ban more tolerable, and Virginia representative promotes idea that governor could employ the National Guard. Lots to unpack here. So first off, yes, the number in this article, which is a day old, was 93 counties, and it is up to 101 as of today. I saw. I think it's interesting, and if you look at maps, it's a sea of red with tiny little dots of blue, and that's why gerrymandering is so incredibly important. But originally, the governor said that, was it the new governor? Yeah, said that he was going to kind of ban all assault guns, but I think they've got a little bit of backlash, and now he's saying, well, no further ones being sold, but we'll grandfather them in and you just have to register them into this. I say no. And last but not least, suggesting National Guard to be called to force enforcement of new legislation. Here is this quote. If we have constitutional laws on the books and law enforcement officers are not enforcing those laws on the books, then we're going to get some consequences. But I'll cross that bridge if and when we get to it. Northam, which I almost spit when I say his name. It's like Voldemort. He says, now I do want to say that the Virginia National Guard actually did say, from the Adjutant General of Virginia, we have received multiple questions regarding proposed legislation for the 2020 General Assembly session and authority of the Governor of Virginia to employ the Virginia National Guard in law enforcement role. We understand and respect the passion people feel for the U.S. Constitution's Second Amendment rights. We will not speculate about the possible use of the Virginia National Guard. We have not received any requests from the governor or anyone on his staff about serving in a law enforcement role related to the.
Okay.
Sup, Tony?
So we haven't received any word about related to the governor bringing anybody out, but what the heck happened, bro?
Were they censoring you?
They must have been. Damn it!
The guard got him.
I'm here now. But yeah, so there's like so much going on in Virginia. Pick any or all of those that you'd like to talk about. And Rebecca Schmoy, I'll start with you.
Oh, let's start with ban them all. Backpedal, backpedal, backpedal. Infringement is infringement. And that's strictly what he's calling for. The fact that he wants to get the National Guard involved in the infringement is not surprising. I'm constantly saying I'm never surprised anymore. I'm always just astounded by where we are in things. But really, he's calling for infringement, and then he's saying, oh, hey, guys, you want to back me up here? Because that'd be swell if you could back me up here. And, of course, the National Guard is coming out real PC. Their statement was super PC. And I thought really well worded, considering the position that he threw them in. And they're like, well, we're going to have to wait and see about that. I'm going to hold my cards close to my vest on that one. And so it's really Virginia's just powder keg. We're just waiting for the shot heard around the world at this point, however that comes.
Yeah, I thought that the last thing in the Virginia National Guard's response, that no one from the governor or his staff has approached us about enforcing law. I was like, that's a very interesting thing to say in one of two tweets. Tony, the other day, I was like sitting here and I was reading news on Virginia, and I just got annoyed. I'm like, God, it sucks so bad. Like they were fine, and then with one election cycle, everything's kind of fallen apart for Second Amendment advocates there. So I went through all of our orders that we'd ever gotten and found everyone in Virginia, and I sent them one of our blacked out "We Like Shooting" patches with a sign, with a note that was in there that said, "Hey, I know it sucks in Virginia right now. Stand strong, fight for your rights, don't give up. And if that doesn't work, here's a blacked out patch for night operations."
Nice, bro.
And
nice.
It just like I want them to know that we're out here and like we care. And while I can't do much, besides talk about how they can get involved, like they're doing a pretty bang up job already. Tony, what are your thoughts on all this?
Again, born and raised in Virginia. I don't know where Northam comes from. I really don't. Again, this dude is messing up. They don't understand what Virginia is like. Virginia has kicked off and been part of 2 civil wars. What? Yeah, the Revolution was a civil war. Virginia led it. Washington is from Virginia. They never let us forget that. The founding fathers and the first 8 presidents are from Virginia. Like you don't know who you messing with. All right. We have this embedded in us generationally that they talk about Lee marching through certain areas of Virginia like it happened last week. I mean, bro, these people are ready to get it on just because that is our culture. That is how we're raised. What has happened, and I watched it from the time I was a kid, when I was leaving, Doug Wilder got elected as the first black governor of Virginia, and he was a Democrat, and he came up with the one gun a month thing, one handgun a month, and that was the start of this generation's Virginia gun control thing. And every other governor, you get some idiot, and it's really the Beltway and those people that live up in Northern Virginia and the larger cities pushing this BS. Well, everybody else is tired of it. Everyone else. And that's what's happening. And it's going to be bad. You cannot sell wolf tickets to this. Listen, they will shoot you in your face. This is not joking around. And hey, good job on the head of the National Guard dancing around this, because he's appointed by the governor, so he has to watch what he says. But understand, Virginia is chock full of military bases. Chocked full of military bases. And a lot of these National Guardsmen, dude, you could join the National Guard and still be in high school. This ain't gonna turn out like you think, son.
Yeah. So Virginia, stay strong. VCDL, I know, is one of the organizations there, Virginia Citizens Defense League. And honestly, if you guys are aware of more, please send them to me. I will say them on all my shows so people can get involved. And definitely stay strong. Going to the next story. This one annoys me. I got annoyed earlier, and I was like, okay, just shake it off, whatever. It's no big deal. And then I just read it again, and I got annoyed again. Illinois woman sits behind bars while attacker she shot is free. So guy gets shot, goes to the hospital. Officers are called. He says that a woman shot him in front of his home. They began their investigation, contacted the woman, who came in voluntarily. The woman had several injuries to her face from the man beating her up while she was inside of her vehicle. She had a shunt in her head from a previous injury, and a blow to the head could be fatal, Copeland said. The woman told police she shot the man in self-defense. The woman is not facing charges for the shooting, but is facing a preliminary charge of aggravated unlawful use of a weapon for lack of a concealed carry license. That guy, while she is still sitting in jail, the guy who's beating her up, was given a $10,000 bond and immediately posted bond and was back out on the streets while she languished, waiting to see what her future is going to be. Rebecca Schmoy?
Being penalized for protecting yourself is the most un-American thing I can think of. She is getting beat up by someone who is bigger and stronger than her. She grabs what we all call the great equalizer, and she settles it. She protects herself, and it's obviously not the first time she's had to deal with this. She's in fear of her life. She protects herself, and now she's locked up. And I can only imagine that people are out there saying, well, at least he can't get to her. Look, her rights have been infringed on for protecting herself. He is out living life, and I can't imagine how any judge can say that this is fair or that they can say that this is justice. And the fact that there is one out there, obviously, that thought that her possessing a firearm in self-defense was a bigger crime than someone attacking her is just the entire thing is asinine, and it really annoys me too. I can't read it without just fuming.
Yeah, and I mean, like, okay, broke the law, and I'm sure when faced with, oh, what he may have killed you, like, do you regret this? Probably not. Tony, what are your thoughts here?
This is what happens in anti-gun states. This is when they pass feel-good legislation, and you notice the penalties for firearms ownership are more heinous and longer than for violently attacking someone. And this is what happened with this woman. And the sad part is this: they'll probably do some kind of deal, and she'll not have to go to jail, but she'll probably have to be convicted of a felony. Mm-hmm. He's out. He is not in jail. Thereby, she can't legally buy a gun to protect herself against him when he attacks again.
And he knows it. He knows that.
So I'll go ahead and tell you this, lady. Black powder isn't a firearm. It's time to outlaw Josie Wales, this sucker. That's all I'm saying.
A blunderbuss. You can put like TV remotes in it and things.
Somebody getting shot by a cannon. That's all I'm saying.
And deserves it. Pennsylvania labels 80% receivers as firearms. Oh, this is fun. So Attorney General Shapiro and Governor Wolf have come. They did a news conference, and he says, "My office is taking the initial step of clarifying." I'm going to change my voice to something dumb. Through my official legal opinion that under Pennsylvania law, 80% receivers are firearms and can be treated, regulated, and enforced as such, AG Shapiro said during a Capitol News conference with Governor Wolf and PA State Police. The proliferation of these untraceable weapons strikes at the heart of our public safety, hindering law enforcement's ability to protect our communities. If we don't recognize that 80% receivers are firearms under Pennsylvania law, we are creating a giant loophole that allows criminals to skirt our agreed upon laws that keep people safe. Changing this classification will not hurt legal responsible gun owners. The change will stop criminals, terrorists, and other people who can't pass a background check from acquiring a gun through the loophole. He says, as I sit here with more polymer 80 guns than I have probably most other pistols. So does that mean that pipes and nails are now? Because like you can make a firearm in the United States. It's completely legal. And there's so many things you can do it with. Tony?
Nobody needs one of them AR-15s. I'm just saying. Yes, I have a Springfield Armory hat. This is another. What happens in Jersey doesn't stay in Jersey. I think New Jersey is the only state where it is illegal to build a gun in your home. We can't do it. 80% are illegal here. And this is just more bullcrap. And this is why you have to be on guard for people like this. This is an American tradition. We've been doing it since before there was an America, when this was still called colonies. We were able to build guns at home, and nothing should stop that. Oh, and by the way, where's the long list of criminals using 80%?
Yeah, I'm aware of like a couple from this show, but I would never be even aware of them. And yeah, like, this is really a thing. And honestly, actually, I take that back. I did see one recently. It was a guy who in his garage, he was a prohibited person, unable to own firearms, and in his garage, he was basically manufacturing 80%. He was breaking so many freaking laws in the universe, and yeah, he's a criminal. Rebecca?
Are hardware stores now going to be required to be an FFL? Because you can, if somebody knows what they're doing, you can walk through a hardware store and put something together that's going to shoot a projectile. So it's kind of like having the car in your yard up on blocks that doesn't have an engine in it, and then they come along and they say, well, you're required to have insurance and a tag on this, and you're like, you can't use the car though, it doesn't have all the working parts to use the no, we think that you could, so therefore we're going to treat it as such. It's, again, complete asinine insanity, but then again, this is where we are right now.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many things that could be used for deadly purposes. Hammers killed more people than rifles in the United States last year. Hammers. So, I mean, yeah, I guess at the hardware store, they're going to start asking questions, which means when I go through there with plastic gloves, plastic bins, and hydrofluoric acid, they're going to start asking questions. I can't afford that. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life.
Live your best life. Come on.
My wife and I were doing some yard work and some moving stuff, and I went in and I bought duct tape, gloves, zip ties, and some bungee cord. My wife was like, you might want to have me buy some and you buy some, because they're going to lock your fat butt up. You can't.
Oh, gosh. What a time to be alive. Well, I've never cared about Canada before until right now. Where is it? It was literally just right here. Toronto shooting victim sue Smith & Wesson for $150 million. So 2 people died. This was Toronto mass shooting victim sue gunmaker. 2 people died. 13 were injured in a July 2018 attack. And I kept going through. I was like, what? We have the PLCAA here. Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act. Here in the United States, doesn't exist there. And the weapon used in the attack was an M&P 40 semi-automatic pistol, which had been stolen from a gun dealer in the province of Saskatchewan. So these 2 people are suing. The suit, which hasn't been certified by a judge, alleges that Smith & Wesson created an ultra-hazardous product. So I'm like, I kept going through it. Like, what is this about? What is actually going on here? And it's because they haven't created guns that will not allow unauthorized people to shoot them. So yeah, because we don't have Judge Dredd guns, they are suing Smith & Wesson, and there is no PLCAA in Canada. Rebecca?
Yeah. I really, really glad to be an American, even with all the problems we have. Yeah, this is crazy. It reminds me a lot of the person years ago that sued McDonald's because their coffee was hot. It's just it runs the same line as that. Unfortunately, we're kind of seeing this kind of thing take off even here. But the thing is that the criminal committed a crime and then committed another crime. So we're going to hold a gun manufacturer liable for not living in a fantasy world, not having sci-fi, basically. So now we're at fault because we don't live up to their grand expectations. The fact that that's a lawsuit is just laughable.
Yeah. Some quotes here. The lawyer for the families that are filing the suit is, what we have right now is a technology from the 19th century. People aren't still using rotary telephones anymore. They moved on, but this is an industry that has refused to modernize. Without the technology in place, the lawsuit claims it was reasonably foreseeable. And let's see, despite the agreement, here we go. Model of handgun used in the Danforth shooting, which failed to include smart gun technology. Tony Simon.
Dude, I'm just reading this, and this is a 1999 agreement that Smith & Wesson, when they decided to play, they were going to make a deal with the federal government to reform itself and come up with smart gun technology. And this is when the industry turned on them. One of the times the industry turned on them. And we're like, hey, it's a setup. This is a slippery slope. Don't do it. And now they're paying for that bad decision again from the 90s with a gun from the 90s or 40. So my whole thing is, you messed up back in the day. This is why you don't negotiate with anti-gunners, because it will never stop coming back on you. It's like bad Chinese food. Oh, it's going to come back. And this is exactly what's happening right now. And it's ridiculous because I'm sure the murderer drove a car there or took some vehicle there. He wore clothes. Like, all of that contributed. If he was naked, somebody would have arrested him before he got there to rob the store. I mean, it's just ridiculousness.
Yeah, really is. Congress approves $25 million for gun violence research. Lots to unpack here. This story comes to us from The Hill. Federal agencies will receive $25 million from Congress to study gun violence in the government spending deal reached by the House and Senate negotiators. This article says, a major win for Democrats who've long pushed for dedicated funding to research the issue. The deal includes $12.5 million each for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, and the National Institutes of Health to study gun violence and ways to prevent it. So the Dickey Amendment, basically, it prohibited agencies from using federal funds to advocate for gun control. It didn't say that they couldn't do gun violence studies or anything like that, but it had that handy byproduct. So now this has gone through. They're going to get $12.5 million. I don't know where to go with this. We've seen a lot of reports come back that there was nothing that could be done to stop Mad Men. Tony, what do you think? Do you think we'll see the same thing, or do you think with the changing politics?
Yeah, the Dickey Amendment was passed for a reason. It was bad science. It was bad numbers. It was just politically motivated. And when anyone did any real research, you found out, well, yeah, there's pretty much no way you can stop evil on a government level. And that's, if it's honest, that's all you're going to find out, because, well, sorry, but that's common sense. The government can't prevent people from doing evil stuff. And I love that somehow gun violence is more important than any other horrible violence out there. Like, taking people's lives with a gun is somehow worse than anything else. It's ridiculous. It's pandering, and it's probably going to lead to bad things in this political environment.
Yeah. Rebecca.
Congratulations, everybody. Because we do not get to choose whether or not to pay our taxes. That's forced. And now we are paying to go against our right to keep and bear firearms. So yay us. We're all paying for pretend research that will infringe on our rights. It's
yeah.
It's incredibly unconstitutional. Aside from that, it's just gun violence is just one form of violence. It's not even the most used form of violence. The people who really push the gun violence angle, they don't care about the violence. They've never cared about the violence, because if they cared about the violence, they would be trying to stop all of it. But they know that they're not going to. They only care about the gun.
Yeah. Silly waste. But we'll see where it goes. It's not a good thing. I will assure you that. Next story. Shannon Watts demonstrates opposition to trauma kits in schools. Say what? I don't what? So I had to read it. And yeah, pretty much. While proponents of the initiative to put Stop the Bleed kits in schools and have... this is like screaming that we shouldn't have fire alarms and doors that locked from the outside but are easy to open from the inside. Like in the early part of the century, we lost so many children to school fires. And how did we fix that? By educating, by training, by fixing our infrastructure. All of those things are the reason why it's unheard of to lose a child in a school fire these days. Well, apparently doing the exact same process for people who decide to go into schools and other places and kill a bunch of people by educating, updating, and upgrading the infrastructure and training and everything else is not appropriate here. Shannon Watts, gun control activist and founder of the advocacy group Moms Demand Action, says initiatives like this only address the symptoms of a nationwide problem, not the source. And here's her quote.
I think it's incredibly dystopian that the federal government wants to fund a program that forces children to treat other children's gunshot wounds.
Shut up. Just shut up. Would you just shut up, lady?
Wow, that was actually pretty impressive, dude. Did you zip something up in your zipper? Because there's no way you should have been able to get your voice that high.
I was like, Sean, it's your moment to shine. Just do the most annoying voice you could possibly think of. It probably sounds just like her. I don't know.
It was almost possession right there.
What do you guys think? This is just like, what an idiot, right? Like, what a stupid idiot.
I'm going to guess that she also doesn't believe that we should be buckling our children into child safety seats in the cars. And we should definitely not teach them how to cross a street or anything like that. Also, we're not technically teaching kids how to, treat their wounded classmates. We're instructing teachers and staff. And honestly, it comes down to the more the death toll, the bigger her audience. And that's all it comes down to. That she,
dude,
as much as she says she doesn't want this, it's literally what her business is built on. And it is definitely a business. She is not doing this out of the goodness of her heart. She is drawing quite the paycheck.
I'll use another professional talking head to go up against this professional talking head that is Shannon Watts. Whatever that lady is, Dana Loesch, she was like, you love seeing crying white mothers. And this shows where they're thinking of right here. First aid. Learning to provide first aid extends well beyond gunshot wounds, especially in an environment where children are. You will save more lives knowing first aid that has nothing to do with a gunshot wound. And then she brings in, children forcing children to treat other children's gunshot wounds. Guess what? I would want my kid to be able to treat someone's gunshot wound. There is no negative here. This is, again, the culture of victimhood being perpetrated. This is making America weaker and you weaker as a person and less of an asset to your friends and neighbors if you don't know how to provide first aid.
Yeah, as a mom, I actually, on my own, I didn't have to wait for the school to do it. On my own, I put my kids at a very young age through first aid training and things like that. It's what you do to build good, responsible adults.
I studied it as a kid just because I thought it made sense. As a Marine, I paid attention when we did it. And as a firearms instructor, they thought we needed to spread our message and do more than just teach people pew pew. I hosted classes given every year. Sean and myself host classes with a emergency room doctor teaching first aid because it's important. It reaches further than gunshots and gun wounds. And this is just ridiculous and shows They need these deaths to grow their numbers. It's just that brutal.
Yeah. Number one killer of adolescents and children in the United States is pneumonia. So I think Shannon Watts should focus her time and attention on moms demand antibiotics.
Nice. Nice.
I think that
Moms demand antibiotics.
I'm just so annoyed by that lady. I don't like her.
Disingenuous, very much so.
Yeah. Attorney General in Washington proposes assault-style weapons ban. Or I'm sorry. Let me go back to the actual headline that Kenny wrote because I tried to wing it and it just failed. Washington AG seeks to ban assault weapons and magazines. Attorney General Bob Ferguson. Hello, this is Bob Ferguson. Is proposing bills that seek to limit high-capacity magazines, ban assault-style weapons, and strengthen rules on ammunition sales. He introduced a package of 3 bills, and this was December 12th, 2019, that he says will combat mass shootings in Washington state. The first bill seeks to limit capacity of magazines to 10 rounds, and currently high-capacity magazines are legal to purchase in the state, including the same 100-round double-drum magazine used by a shooter in Dayton, Ohio, Ferguson said. Ferguson also notes that high-capacity magazines were used in blah, blah. We don't care about that. If we do not take action, he says, additional mass shootings will occur here. That is inevitable. Second proposed bill seeks to ban the sale of assault-style weapons. And the final bill would strengthen state rules regarding ammunition sales. It would prohibit violent felons and other people who cannot legally obtain firearms from purchasing or possessing ammunition. It would also make it illegal for firearms dealers or other dealers to knowingly sell ammo to those violent felons or people not able to legally own a firearm. The bill would also require ammunition sellers to get a state firearms license. This change would not impact current firearms dealers. I thought that ammunition sellers already had to have an FFL, and they do. But I don't know. Why let the truth stop you? Tony, what do you think?
What happens in New Jersey doesn't stay here. These are most of the same stupid laws that passed here, including the 10-round magazine limitation. You know what happened 4 days after they signed those into law? Father's Day 2 years ago? But we had a mass shooting in Trenton, New Jersey. 21 people were shot. What happened with it? Well, the news shoved it into the backyard because it was in Trenton. It was in a black neighborhood. And they were just shot. They weren't killed. So let's not talk about that. Hey, we just had a shooting in Jersey City. Hey, you think they had 10-round magazines or maybe more than 10-round magazines when they shot up the Jewish deli and killed the cop? Criminals will not pay attention to your stupid laws. You have to be a fool to think they will. And when asked, well, when will criminals pay attention to these laws? They have nothing. How do I know? I've been there. I've asked them, and you get nothing from these chowderheads. They're really good at talking in the microphone, but when you start asking them questions, it all falls apart.
Yeah. Rebecca?
10-round magazines. Okay. It's not like they can't change their magazine and and put in. The point is that if you have the want to go and shoot a bunch of people, if that's what your goal is, you're going to find a way, whether you illegally have more than 10 rounds or whether you have 6 10-round magazines. It is. And the idea that all of a sudden we're going to limit good people who have done nothing wrong in case, maybe you miss a shot, maybe you have a jam and you've got to clear it. Maybe you have more than 10 people, that are trying to assail you. It's limiting good people when the bad people will get around your stupid law regardless. It doesn't matter. And the idea that good FFLs are selling anything to the bad guys, it's not one of those things that happen. These are black market. These are stolen property. I myself had a couple of guys break into my home several years ago now, and they stole firearms. Do you know what they got? One of them got nothing. No, not even probation, nothing. And he was dealing in stolen firearms and actually took it to a pawn shop and pawned it the same day they stole it. Actually, the sheriff's department knew it was my gun before I had gotten home and realized that it was gone. And then the other kid, I say kid, but the other guy served 12 months and then was released. He was sentenced to 31. I was at sentencing. I spoke at sentencing, and these guys, though one of them wasn't even committed a felony as far as the court was concerned, because he had enough money to get a lawyer, so he got completely off. The other guy has a felony. Do you know what's going to stop him from getting a gun? Absolutely nothing. He will do what he did before. If he so wants to, he will break in and he will steal it from someone. And he is just, as I said in sentencing, they are both very lucky that myself and my family were not at home at the time. We would have been having a much different conversation.
Nice.
Yep. All right. Good stuff. Excellent conversation, guys. That's going to be our last story for the night. But as always, I do want to hear what you're up to, and I want all the people to know where they can find you. Rebecca Schmoy, I've said your name 1,000 times this episode.
I know. You've done so well.
Just to prove that I could actually do it correctly. So what have you been up to, and where can people find you?
All right. Timothy Knight and I are doing To the Republic, and I just got done with hunting season. I got a beautiful, amazing 8-point buck. He was a great harvest, and my family, it's field to table for us, and so we've been enjoying him. That's awesome. So Tim and I took a little hiatus so that I could have hunting season, and now we're back to work with To the Republic, and you can find that at totherepublic.us. And then I also do work with 1 Million Moms Against Gun Control. Yes, I said against, because everybody stops and looks at you funny. It's 1MMAGC, and you can either go to the website 1mmagc.org, or you can find us on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm on Instagram just under my name, Rebecca Schmoy.
All right. I love it. Thanks so much for coming back.
Thank you for having me, and for remembering my name.
I'll never forget it again. Tony Simone, tell us where people can find you, what you've been up to.
Simon Says Train on Facebook. The second is for everyone on Simon Says Train on Facebook and Instagram. The second is for everyone on Facebook. The second is for everyone.com, 2a4e.com, whatever you want to call it, diversityshoot.com. You can go there and you can donate to our cause, but also you can find your legislator's address and email. I have all of that on that page. I have the letter I wrote on the Bill of Rights Day, so you can copy and paste or just use it as a basis of your own letter and reach out to your legislators. CNJFO in New Jersey, CNJFO is one of the people you can donate to help us with this fight. ANJRPC is another one. And of course, the Virginia Citizens Defense League. Reach out, help somebody. Fight this fight. We need funding to do it because it's happening in court. This ain't cheap. All right. And also, write your own legislator, even if you live in a gun-friendly state, and tell them, hey, you're doing a good job, but I got my eye on you.
All right. Good stuff, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Always a pleasure. Go check out our sponsors. Firearmsradio.tv/SCD is where you can find Second Call Defense, and PatriotPatch.co is where you can find the Patriot Patch Company. If you like this show, you'll probably like other ones on the network. Go to firearmsradio.tv to find all the fantastic podcasts out there. And don't forget, This Week in Guns is produced by Kenny Ortega and Ben Allreed, and is a production of the Firearms Radio Network. We'll catch y'all next week.
Oh, I have so much fun just with the clothes.